Jerry Falwell's Liberty University is making headlines for terrible reasons after a student came forward and alleged that after being raped on campus, the school not only ignored her accusations, but went out of its way to threaten to punish her for breaking the school's moral codes. Let me give you the details. Elizabeth Axley was a first-year student at the Evangelical University in 2017 when she went to a Halloween party at an apartment away from campus when she had 8 shots of vodka and some other drinks. The next thing she remembers is waking up with another student from the university on top of her with his hand over her mouth. The student denies the claim. Axley called campus police upon returning to her dorm. An officer took her to the hospital where a nurse found 15 injuries of various kinds, such as bruises. So she immediately reported this, clearly, which is why she was taken to the hospital. She also, of course, reported the incident to Liberty University, and they refused to hold anyone accountable, according to her version of events. She says when she told her resident advisor about what had happened, the advisor told her not to report the incident as she could be considered to have broken the school's rules against drinking and associating with members of the opposite sex. The advisor instead suggested that they pray together.
Yeah, I don't need your goddamn prayers, okay? Jesus Christ, she comes and tells you she's raped, and you're like, oh, what were you wearing? What are you drinking? What were you, so you're, okay, let's pray together. Spare me your goddamn prayers and get me justice. I want justice. I don't want your stupid prayers. Okay, it gets way worse. Go ahead, Anna.
So the school decides to launch essentially a sham investigation. After she had been raped, she had text messaged her friend about what had happened. And she said, I effing remember making noise and him covering my mouth, oh my God, Axley texted a friend. In addition to those texts, Axley had also taken photos of her injuries to back up her claim. Alyssa Bucci, the lead investigator, started questioning Axley, and instead of looking at her evidence, asking why she had gone to the party and how much she had to drink, making the student immediately feel judged. Then the victim in this case, Axley, was called back to the office after 5 months to look at the investigation documents. When asked by Axley, Bucci reportedly said the photos of the students' injuries had been removed because they were thought to be too explicit.
Oh, come on, guys, Jesus Christ, man. So they removed the evidence. Why? Your body is too explicit. It'll make people, attracted to the rape victim? Oh, well, we have a lot of horny men on this panel, and they already are not gonna do anything. Of course, they're gonna cover up your rape. Of course they are. But if we show them the bruises that you received on your body while being raped, they might be aroused. So it's too explicit, so we're gonna take out the evidence. If you send your daughter to Liberty University, you should have your mind examined. You're a monster if you send your daughter there.
No, but I mean, this is in line with what evangelicals believe to be morality. This is morality. This is their version of morality. It is the rape victim's fault for going to a party that had men and drinking, right? So the onus falls on the victim here, starts and stops with the victim, end of story. No discussion about the individual who took advantage of her in a vulnerable state. It's just all about placing blame on a young woman who made a decision to go to a party and have drinks. And she had too much to drink, apparently, but like, who hasn't? What student hasn't gone through that? And so my question to people who like to place the blame on the victim who's just been raped is, okay, if you've accidentally left your front door open and someone burglarized your home and stole all your possessions, is it the burglar's fault or is it your fault for forgetting to lock your door? Is it the person who actually committed the crime Or is it the victim?
And they don't even believe it.
They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. And this is, look, all I'm trying to say is this is consistent with what we get from evangelicals, from fundamentalists, okay? Not just fundamentalist Christians, fundamentalists of all religions, okay? Especially when we just had a major state in this country pass a law that bans women from getting an abortion, even if they've been raped, because they don't see it as a crime. Let's just keep it real. They don't see it as a crime. They don't. They don't.
So I'm gonna give you even more horrific parts of this case in a second. But guys, I can prove to you they're hypocritical liars. It's super easy. They say, oh, you went to a party, oh, you had a lot of drinks, huh? Okay, all right. Now, by the way, we're gonna punish you, which is the part I'm gonna get to in a second. Okay, well, okay, let's flip it then. And so you say it's her fault for having the drinks and she should be punished. Well, what if it was the situation where it was a male? And he says, oh, I went to a party, I had a lot of drinks, and another guy raped me. Would they be like, it's your fault for having the drinks? Hell no, and you know it, everybody watching knows it. They'd be like, oh, another guy raped you? What a monster, we can get him out, get him out. They wouldn't ask you about how many drinks you had, they wouldn't care. If they took bruises of your body, you think they'd say, oh, it's too explicit, we're taking it out? No, they'd go get the other guy, right? Right away, because that's a beloved male. The males must be protected, right? But the females, they're disposable, they're property, right? And so now let's go to more from the Independent. Then the victim, quote, she then got an email from the school saying that she needed to sign a document. To show that she was aware that she could be found to have broken the school's code of conduct, which bans drinking and, quote, being in a state of undress with a member of the opposite sex. Actually could face, quote, possible disciplinary actions if she chose to move the case forward, the document said.
What insane parent would send their daughter to this garbage institution?
They sanction rape, it's insanity. Why was she in a state of undress? Because the guy was raping her. And you're saying, well, technically, as he was ripping your clothes off your body, you were in a state of undress. So we're not sure we're gonna punish him at all, and we took out all the evidence from the file. But we are guaranteeing punishment for you. You go ahead, go forward. I dare you to go forward with your rape allegations when we took out all the evidence and the only person who's likely to be punished is you. What kind of a monster sends their daughter to Liberty University? There's a green light to do sexual abuse.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, it's not just Axley. So now let's get to the next quote. This is from ProPublica. Interviews of more than 50 former students and staff, along with records from numerous cases, reveal that the school's focus on sexual purity has led to officials blaming and discouraging women who try to report sexual assault. 2 other students also said they had to sign forms similar to that of Axley, with one saying that she was fined $500 and told to attend counseling after drinking alcohol. Students have also alleged that university police officers have urged victims not to press charges when they reported sexual crimes. Guys, there's 2 parts of that's unbelievable. So 50 former students and staffers. It's not one person, you don't have to take her word for it. There's all those other people. And in one of those cases, they say, oh, you were sexually abused. You have to pay a fine of $500. Monsters, monsters, monsters. Last one from ProPublica. Liberty University spokesperson Scott Lamb told the outlet that he was fired from his job as Liberty University's senior vice president of communications earlier in October for pushing school officials to respond to emails from ProPublica.
Jesus.
So that was a person of conscience, a real Christian, who said, we shouldn't allow rape on campus. And they've exposed that this is a real problem. He said, look, we should do something about it, but also we should put out a statement saying we're opposed to rape. Like of course we're gonna do an investigation. They're like, no, we're not. Shut up, you're fired. One last thing, guys. This happens in all of the old school traditional cultures, mainly for religious reasons, but also for other cultural reasons, okay? And it comes across in all of the religions, wherever you have fundamentalism, this happens. They say a woman cannot be in the same room as a man, okay? If anything happens to her, they blame her. Now, what does that encourage? It tells all the men, if you're ever alone with a woman, she's the one who's gonna get blamed, so do whatever you want to her. it is a way that they literally encourage rape, because they say there's gonna be no consequences for you and we're gonna blame her. Now, what do you think bad guys are gonna do? Monsters.
Yeah, and I mean, look, there were so many stories published about traditional non-religious universities ignoring accusations of rape and sexual assault because they don't want the bad publicity. Investigating it, taking it seriously means bad publicity, and they're terrified of that. So they'll do the wrong thing in order to save their own public image. But there's an added egregious, disgusting layer to it when you're talking about an evangelical university that again places all the blame on the rape victim as opposed to the perpetrator.
If you know anyone that goes to Liberty University, send them this video. And if you do, most importantly, the parents, pull out all your daughters from Liberty University. They're literally in danger right now as we speak. If anything happens to them, there's almost no chance they're gonna get justice. And they might be fined for their rape. So get them out of the university. I mean, I'm being serious, and I don't look. It's if you think no, my fundamentalist religion is more important than my daughter. Hey, that's up to you, man. It's our job to give you the news. You want to be a monster, that's your business. But you could read these stories on your own. You could search. You don't have to just rely on us. Look at it. Make sure that we're telling you the truth. Interpret it any way you like. Look at the actual news of it. And if you still think, oh no, it's okay, I'm gonna send my daughter there, that's up to you, man. But I think you're absolutely nuts if you let him into that den of ghouls and goblins and monsters. I mean, you wanna talk about evil, this is evil. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, we really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.